People hear the phrase seller's market all the time. It gets thrown around in headlines and conversations, but very few people actually understand what it means. Here's the thing, a seller's market isn't a vibe or a feeling, and it's definitely not something you guess is happening based on one headline you saw last week on social media. A seller's market is a set of very clear signals. And once you know what to look for, it becomes much easier to understand what kind of leverage you actually have as a homeowner. I'm Nick Ragan with the Ragan team at Next Home Signature Real Estate here in Omaha, Nebraska. And today I want to walk you through how to tell if you're in a seller's market, and more importantly, what that actually means for your home. At its core, a seller's market happens when there are more buyers than available homes. The imbalance is what gives sellers leverage, and when demand outweighs supply, buyers have fewer options. And when buyers have fewer options, their behavior tends to change. They start to move faster, they negotiate less, and they're more willing to stretch to secure the right home for themselves. The first clear signal of a seller's market shows up in pricing. In a true seller's market, prices are strong. Homes often sell at asking price or above, and buyers tend to focus less on negotiating, really the price down, and more on simply winning the home. That shift happens because instead of asking, how long can we go, buyers start asking, how do we make this offer more competitive? That's a completely different mindset, and it changes how offers are structured. The second signal is inventory. In a seller's market, there are fewer homes available overall. Buyers don't have endless choices, so when a well-priced, well-presented home hits the market, it immediately stands out. Limited inventory also creates urgency, and buyers know that if they hesitate, someone else will step in. And that urgency is one of the strongest advantages a seller can have. The third signal is demand. More buyers are actively competing for fewer homes, and when demand is high, you start to see multiple offers, faster decisions, and shorter timelines. Homes don't sit and showings stack up quickly, and buyers are often forced to make decisions before they feel completely ready, simply because waiting isn't an option. Another important indicator that often gets overlooked is seller flexibility. In a seller's market, sellers may have the ability to negotiate favorable terms, not just price. They can include delayed occupancy, extended possession after closing, or flexibility around timing that works better for the seller's life. When buyers are competing, sellers start to gain more options. And options give you control over how the transaction ultimately unfolds, not just how much you sell for. Now, this is where things get tricky because some sellers try to take advantage of a seller's market by pricing their home intentionally low, sparking a bidding war. And while that strategy can work in certain situations, it can also backfire if it's not handled carefully. And here's why buyers rely on pricing as a signal. It sets expectations, and when pricing feels misleading, trust breaks down completely. Imagine a buyer capped at $300,000 who sees a home listed at $275,000. They get excited, they tour the home, they start picturing themselves living there, and then they find out the home is really worth $325,000. That buyer just wasted time, they wasted emotional energy, and chances are they're not walking away really feeling great about the experience they had. This is important when trust matters in real estate, and misleading pricing can damage that trust even in a strong seller's market. Now, our approach is different. We price homes honestly, strategically, using real data. The goal is to have clarity, not confusion. So when buyers understand the value of the home up front, the right buyers show up that leads to cleaner offers, really, smoother negotiations, and fewer surprises. A seller's market doesn't mean throwing logic out the window. It means using the market intelligently. So when you step back and look at the full picture, the signals are super clear. If prices are strong, inventory is low, demand is high, and sellers have leverage in both price and terms, you're likely in a seller's market. But here's the most important part. Market conditions are local. They vary by neighborhood, price point, and even by street. What's true for one home may not be true for another. That's why understanding your specific situation matters more than relying on a bunch of broad headlines. If you want to understand what kind of market your home is actually in, reach out to the Ragan team at Next Home Signature Real Estate. We'll break it down clearly, walk you through the data, and help you use the market to your advantage with confidence and clarity.